what about this? Peace, folk. Welcome back to another edition of the Proper the Thought series right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why y'all black asses are here. Now, today, I'm bringing you, good folk, another edition of What About? In fact, this one is titled, What About When Fathers Fail Kids? That's right. When fathers fail kids. Now, I know everyone who's familiar with T.P.O.T, you have gotten used to me bringing you these old mamas. And rightly so, because there's many of them. But I saw this today, and like I told you good folk the other day, I've been watching quite a bit of this, this court stuff. Been watching more of this than I have been watching anything on YouTube, quite frankly, because, it depicts real life, unlike most of the things on YouTube. But notwithstanding that, I find these court cases interesting because you kind of get an insight of, what's going on in the world, what's going on inside of Black society, because when you see these cases, you kind of get a small window in to parts of Black society, the parts of Black society that we often talk about on YouTube. But today, I'm bringing you a court case of a young man, right? And this young man is 17, right? The young man you see in your top left-hand corner. Below him is the judge. To the right of the judge is his public defender. Right above the public defender in the right-hand corner is the Solicitor General, the district attorney. But there's another public defender there, this lady in the middle. Now you may say to yourself, why is there two public defenders? You're going to find that out in a little bit. Yeah, you're going to find that out. And you're also going to find out why I call this When Fathers Fail Kids as well. But let me set it up. This young man, he stands accused of possessing a weapon, possessing some chronic, and possessing, I believe, a crusher or a grinder, to grind the chronic up. And right now he's being arraigned. And as the story unfolds, you'll kind of see where I'm going with it. All right. So let's get at it.
Free trial.
First arrest.
You said fifth.
First.
Oh, first.
Okay. This is his very, very first arrest. Let's continue.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Duncan.
Your Honor, as I stated previously, this was a co-defendant case. However, his co-defendant, who was his father, has bonded out.
You heard that, right? His co-defendant was his father, who has already bonded out. But we'll talk about that later, too. Let's continue.
This incident did occur yesterday in the area of Hank Aaron Drive in the Summerhill community. Officers were on patrol as a part of an Operation Fall Frontier. They noticed a vehicle committing several traffic violations, so they proceeded to conduct a traffic stop of that vehicle. That vehicle was being driven by the co-defendant in this case, and the defendant in this case was in the passenger seat of the vehicle.
Okay, he's riding with his old man. His old man is driving. He's in the passenger side, right? Let's continue.
Upon officers making contact with the vehicle and the vehicle window being rolled down, officers did detect the odor of raw marijuana and observed the tray with marijuana residue on it on the floorboard under the driver's feet. The defendant, who is 17, was in the car with his father at that time, and once they were asked to get out of the car, the defendant in this case was allowed to retain use of his hands because, according to officers, he was on a crutch, but he was asked to come to the back of the vehicle.
Now, he's on crutches, right? On, at the very least, a crutch, according to the Solicitor General. Now, he's on crutches, so I don't know. Maybe he's got a bad leg, bad foot, the foot injury, leg injury. I don't know. But he's on crutches. Let's continue.
And at that time, officers search incident 2 that they uncovered a packet of commercially packaged amount of marijuana.
A commercially packaged amount of marijuana. So him and the old man, you know, they had the sticky icky bagged up, you know, getting ready for distribution. Maybe they was about to make a drop. I don't know. But a commercially packed amount of marijuana. We continue.
Less than an ounce in the hoodie of the defendant. They asked the defendant to release whatever he was holding on to in his right pocket. However, he did not at that time. Officers were previously told by the other party in this case that there were no firearms in the vehicle. However, when this defendant was asked to release his hands, he would not do so. Officers advised that they saw him holding on to something that carried a little bit of weight. They were eventually able to recover a loaded .40 caliber semi-automatic Glock pistol from the defendant in this case, Your Honor.
Now he's got a .40 caliber semi-automatic Glock on him. Now remember, he's 17. He's with his old man. He's riding around with a .40 caliber semi-automatic Glock in his pocket. Let's continue.
Honor. And then the defendant also admitted to officers that the grinder that was in the car with marijuana did in fact belong to him. At that time, both parties were taken into custody. The state is aware of this defendant's limited criminal history. However, we have a huge concern that this defendant may be a danger to himself and others, given that there was a firearm and illegal drugs involved in this incident.
Now, you can look at this a couple of ways, right? Because I don't know what his father was charged with. I didn't see that case, right? Now, they pull him over, they get him out the car, they got, you know, some weed, they got it bagged up, the sticky icky is ready for sale. They got a crusher, there's weed on the floor. He got a .40 caliber Glock on him. You can look at this a couple of ways, right? Maybe the weed was his. Maybe the grinder was his. Maybe the gun was his. Right? Because you heard the Solicitor General, you know, he copped to the weed and the crusher being his, and he had the gun in his pocket, right? But there can also be this. They get pulled over. They got weed in the car. They got crushers in the car. They got a gun in the car. There's a pretty good chance that he looks over at his son, who he knows has never been arrested, because this is the young man's first arrest, right? So he's never been arrested. So he say, hey, son, take this gun, take this weed. Don't worry about it. This is your first arrest. You'll get out. Right? But we continue.
As is stated for the record, this defendant apparently was on crutches. This situation could have gone much worse. Had he possibly tripped or fallen, he could have shot himself or anyone in the vicinity. Being a minor, that's even more dangerous, the fact that he was allowed to have such a weapon loaded in his possession under these circumstances. So given that, we think that a $4,000 surety is more than reasonable in this case. $500 for the possession of marijuana less than an ounce, $500 for the possession of drug-related objects, and $3,000 for the firearm under the age of 18. Your Honor, given these circumstances and the danger that a firearm itself presents under these circumstances in the hands of a minor, we believe it's more than reasonable. We're also going to ask for no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, no further violations of Georgia law, no contact with the co-defendant. We understand that is his father, but we...
Now, you hear what the Solicitor General is saying. Whenever they do this, no alcohol, drugs, or firearms, stay away from the incident location, etc., etc. But she's adding some more stipulations. No more contact with your old man. Now, what do you good folk think about that? Should that be one of the stipulations? Should he be told to stay away from his old man? Now, think about it now. Yes, that's his old man. But that's his old man who either had him with him while he was doing a bunch of illegal activity, or had his son with him and they were doing illegal activity together. Either way, it's not a good situation. Either way, this man has failed this boy. There's no other way to look at it. And I'm saying this because I would be saying the same thing if it was his mother. This man has failed this boy. And hey, maybe this is the first time that they was riding around with, a 40 caliber and a bunch of chronic bagged up with a crusher. This might have been the first and only time. If you believe that, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'll sell you for like $10. But we continue.
You have concerns about his contributing to the delinquency of this defendant. We also would ask that this defendant have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Nothing further from the state.
Is this Ms. McLeod?
Your
No,
Honor,
Your Honor, it's Ms. Gams.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Ms. Gant. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Now here comes the public defender. They always give the generic kind of defense, right? At an arraignment. Oh, this person is X amount of years old. They've been in the area for X amount of years. They live here. They live there. They got their mama here, their brother here, their dog is here. They're presumed innocent, until proven guilty, which is the truth. They are innocent until proven guilty. So, they give them this whole generic thing about, they like to hike in the mountains and, fish in the creek. They give this whole spiel of stuff that doesn't really mean anything. But this one is quite interesting. Fair use, Negroes, fair use.
Your Honor, Mr. Brandon Clark is 17 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area his entire life. He does have his father here, the co-defendant, Mr. Robert Terry. He also has an aunt, Ms. Paris Terry. I have been in contact with her. She is willing to co-sign for Mr. Clark. I am not able to contact Mr. Clark's mother. And I have been unable to reach Mr. Clark's father, Mr. Robert Terry. He was just released, Your Honor. Mr. Clark is a high school student. He's in 12th grade. He is enrolled at the Perry Academy. He enjoys math and science. And
he enjoys math and science. I'm pretty sure he does. He has to know some math, to scale up the chronic and bag it up and, make sure it's, make sure it's not more than a gram in each bag. So I'm pretty sure he's probably pretty good at some degree of math and science. But we continue.
Of course, he is certainly considering attending college when he graduates. He is unemployed, Your Honor, but he does have some work history.
What do you mean he's unemployed? He sells weed. He is a reefer retailer. What are you talking about? Attorney Gant. He is a reefer retailer. Stop lying. We continue.
Worked about 3 months ago at Chick-fil-A part-time while continuing in high school. He, of course, is presumed innocent. We are denying the allegations today. And regarding the state's arguments, Your Honor, this is not a reckless conduct case. Nothing happened. This is not a defects case, Your Honor. So we, again, my client, I have to remind the state that my client enjoys presumption of innocence. This is his first arrest. I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Clark's behalf, given that he does not have the means to have anyone bond him out of jail. If Your Honor determines that he is ineligible, then I would ask for a split bond, and that would be a bond of no more than $1,000 for the possession of the pistol, and to any amount that Your Honor deems appropriate in signature for the possession of marijuana and drug-related objects. We certainly are opposed to the no contact order with the co-defendant, which is the 17-year-old young man's father.
Now, the PD is opposed to him, having any contact with his old man who he riding around with guns and the sticky icky in the car, right? Now, of course, they always plead for a signature bond on these things. I spoke with y'all the other day about the quote unquote signature bond. Basically what they do, they sign their name and, whatever the bond amount is, whether it's $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, they sign their name, they walk out of jail. Now, as long as they come back to court, they're good, right? But if they mess around and miss a date, failure to appear, when they do bring them back to court, they're going to have to pay that $4,000 on the bond, right? Now, those of you who may not be familiar with bond, y'all know how it works. If your bond is $5,000, you go to a bondsman, you give them $500, they bond you out, right? As long as you bring your ass back to court, you good, right? You don't come back to court, not only will you have the court looking for you, the criminal justice system will be looking for you, but the bondsman will also be looking for you because, see, he loses money if you don't come to court. But with the signature bonds, it's different. Those are done, I believe, through the jail, through the court, through pretrial services and all that kind of stuff. So basically what you do, you sign your name, you walk the hell out of there. Long as you make all your court dates, you're fine, right? You are fine. So, like I said, the public defenders, they always request a signature bond for somebody who, their first arrest or the case is somewhat minor. They're always going to ask for a signature bond. And most of the time, they get it. That's something I've noticed in this court, because most of the cases that come through this court are like, misdemeanors and stuff like that. So him having the gun actually isn't that big of a charge. And how much y'all want to bet he's going to sign his name? Well, he's not going to be able to sign his name because he is a minor, but someone will be able to co-sign for him, and he's going to walk out of there today. How much you want to bet? But we continue.
Your Honor, again, this is not a defects case. And lastly, we are unopposed to the curfew. Thank you, Your Honor.
And if I may, Your Honor, as the court is aware that this is an open and pending case against this defendant and all co-defendants involved in the case, and the state reserves the right to add additional charges at that time. As stated before, we do have concerns about the father's contribution to this defendant's delinquency, given.
Now, we have to kind of go along with the Solicitor General on this one. The Solicitor General says, hey, we got concerns about this boy's father contributing to this young man's delinquency. Given, in light of the facts that we already know, right? The gun, the weed, he in the car with the old man. Obviously, the old man isn't thinking about this boy's safety, thinking about this boy's life, thinking about this boy's future. Because I couldn't imagine riding around with a loaded gun, all right, some bagged up weed, with like my grandbabies in the car. If I do have a weapon, it's safely tucked away, all right? And if we happen to get pulled over, they're not going to find it on my teenage nephew or my teenage son, all right? That's not where they're going to find it. They're going to find it in the glove compartment of the car, or in the trunk, or, in the lockbox in the truck. Or that's where they're going to find it. They're not going to find a loaded gun in my grandson's pocket or in my nephew's pocket. That alone reeks of irresponsibility to me. Now, I'll say again, like I told y'all before, I don't know if him and the old man are tag teaming and, just out there thugging and selling weed to the world, or did the old man have the stuff and hand it off to him and say, hey, you got to take this. You got to take this charge. You got to take this weed charge. You got to take this gun charge for me, son. But either way, it's garbage. Either way, it's bad parenting at best. It's total despicable, irresponsible degeneracy at worst. But we continue.
That he was allowed to possess a pistol or a firearm under the age of 18. And even if nothing happened as far as the discharge, we do have some concern about public safety and this defendant being a minor with possession of that type of weapon, which, as everyone knows, is extremely dangerous. So nothing further from the state.
And Your Honor, if I may, I neglected to ask that Attorney McLeod if she has some information regarding her client's wish, Mr. Terry, regarding contact with my client, Brandon Clark. I'm not sure if she has some information to provide to the court, Your Honor.
Now, in comes the other public defender, because this public defender represented his father, right? She's there too. She represented the young man's father. Now, the young man's father has already bonded out, right? Now, like I said, if he was able to bond out, that means whatever charges he had were probably relatively minor as well, right? Because he's already out. But I wonder, did he make sure someone came to bond his son out if it was necessary? He obviously didn't make sure he's got a lawyer because he's being represented by the public defender's office. So he didn't pay for him a lawyer. He didn't do that. Because I say again, his father's out. So that means he bailed himself out or had somebody bail him out, or his charges were so minor that he just got out. How much you want to bet the father didn't get charged with the weed, with the sticky icky? How much you want to bet his father didn't get charged with a gun? How much you want to bet that his father's charge was so small that he probably got out right from the station? How much you want to bet His old man probably ain't even out there to pick him up. If we continue.
I do,
Yes,
Your
I have
Honor.
spoken
I
to the
was
father.
representing Mr. Terry before he bonded out, and he expressed to me that he does want contact with his son. He has 5 children, and he's very...
Of course he wants contact with his son. That's his weed selling partner. He's the one that carries the gun. Of course he wants contact with his son. But we've seen what contact with his son has not only gotten him in trouble, but it's also gotten his son in trouble. But we continue.
very involved with all 5 of them, he tells me. Even though they don't really live with him, he spends a lot of time with them.
Of course he does. He spends a lot of time with them, riding around with guns and chronic and scales and crushers and now mind you, his son was on crutches, so something was wrong with the boy. The last thing that the boy should have been doing is riding around with him with a pistol in his pocket and a car full of weed and weed paraphernalia. But we continue.
And he does want to have contact with his son, Your Honor.
Under these circumstances, the state would just object to that contact. Given these circumstances, we don't believe it's appropriate for the safety of this defendant at this time. Nothing further.
Now you're listening to the Solicitor General. What does she say? She says she doesn't believe it's appropriate for the safety of this young man at this time. So in a sense, and I may be reaching a little bit here, in a sense, the state is more concerned with this boy's safety and well-being than his own father is. Because let's say, right? Let's get past the fact that they have been locked up, right? Together. They're co-defendants. Let's get past that. The father bonds out, right? He bonds out. His public defender tells him, so what do you want to do? I don't think the correct response is, yeah, I still want to be around my son. If you really cared about this young man, you would think that the brother would have said, well, we done caught this case, so we just gonna have to not be around each other, until this case is resolved. Because, I think I've gotten my son in enough trouble because of what I'm doing. Because I'm riding dirty. But who knows? What if, and I know I'm going out on a limb here, what if the boy did this on his own? What if the boy had the gun on his own? Let's assume that his old man didn't know he had the pistol. Now, I'm pretty sure the old man knew about the weed because the Solicitor General said the weed was all on the floor and there was a tray with weed on it in the car. And so his old man did have knowledge of the weed. But let's just say he didn't know the young man had a gun. Let's go there. Do you think even with that, being that they got arrested together, that he should still want to be around this boy in light of this? I believe that if you two have gotten arrested together, it's probably not a good idea to be around each other before this is resolved. I'm with the Solicitor General on this one. The father's a bad influence on this boy. He's a bad influence on him. And maybe staying away from him for a little while may do him some good. I mean, after all, the public defender did say, he's into math and science. And he's still in school. So there is hope. But I say again, I'm with the Solicitor General on this one. But we continue. Judge is looking it over.
And we do have the co-signer.
Yes, Your Honor, Paris Terry, his aunt. And she
Saying
informs me that she has a utility bill and ID, government issued ID.
And you're saying Paris, P-A-R-I-S?
Yes, Your Honor. Terry, common spelling, T-E-R-R-Y.
Okay. I tried to stay away from the old mamas on this one, but I have to. Now, obviously, they're not going to let his father come and co-sign for him, right? Because they got arrested together. So they did mention that he does not live with his father. Therefore, he must live with his old mama, right? So why isn't she there to co-sign for him? Why does it have to be his aunt? Just a question.
All right, I'm going to order a signature bond through pretrial.
Sign your name and out you go, young fella. But we knew that already, didn't we?
This is per judge.
Per judge. Yes, I want him to be monitored. And co-signer would be Miss Paris Terry. I want him to stay away from the Hank Aaron Summer Hill area. And no further contact with the co-defendant, which is his father or stepfather.
His dad, Your Honor. That's his dad.
Tight one. I guess he's going to go and live back at home. Is that correct?
From what defense is stating, they don't live together, Your Honor.
They do not live together. Okay.
Right.
They do not live together, Your Honor, but he spends a lot of time with all of the children.
Yeah. Teaching them how to tote guns and sell weed. We could take it.
This is
Well,
what
he
he
kind of have to right now not spend any time with his dad. You all have a case going. You're under bond conditions of no further contact with your dad.
No further contact with the old man. I think I agree with that.
Co-defendant in this case while you're on bond, and that's Mr. Robert Terry. So no contact with him. Please honor that, Mr. Clark. So you're not to talk with your dad right now, okay? No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Not even to be around weapons at all, hopefully ever, but not while you're on bond, okay? That could violate your bond conditions and get you back in jail. Anything else, counsel?
What is the breakdown?
I'll do the breakdown and the curfew. Two things. Let me do the curfew first. The curfew, Mr. Clark, you are to be in the house at by 9 p.m. and you can't go back out till 6 a.m. Where does he go to high school?
Perry Academy, Your Honor,
Where is that?
in Clayton County.
Okay. But you should be able to be home by 9 p.m. or sooner. And then must stay in the house until 6 a.m. Time to go back to school. I want to put in there that you must go to school hopefully on track to graduate. And the breakdown, $500 on the marijuana, $500 on the possession of drug-related objects, $3,000 on the possession of the pistol, for a total of $4,000 signature bond.
Now, how many of you out there believe that this boy, because that's what he is, he's a boy. How many of you out there believe that he is going to stick to the guidelines of these bond conditions? Stay away from drugs, stay away from guns, stay away from his father. How many of you believe that that's going to be the case? I don't believe it. I'm looking at his body language. He's barely interested in what's going on here. I don't even think he has the gravity of the seriousness of it, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what's going on in his head. I can't read his mind, but I've watched so much of this stuff, and it's like a lot of these people, man, they have no idea how serious these things are. Not only do they not know, I don't think they care. Hopefully, just hopefully, this is the only time this young man will find himself sitting here. And I will say again, man, his old man failed him. He failed this boy. He's supposed to be telling this boy to stay away from this kind of mess. Stay away from the guns. Stay away from the drugs. Stay away from the police. His first arrest, he gets arrested with his father. Really something to have a parent to child bonding experience over, huh?
All right, anything else, counsel?
Nothing further from the state.
Okay.
Nothing further from the defense, Your Honor. And I did place Ms. Terry's number in the chat to pretrial.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You call him when you get a chance.
Surely will. Thank you.
You're done. You can have a seat. Judge,
Now, he's going to walk out of here. Who do you think the first person he's going to call when he leaves here? First person he's going to call is that man he calls Pop. That same person who failed him. That same person who has no problem with him being around guns and drugs and riding dirty. That same person who made sure he got out before this boy got out. Because y'all heard that the man is out. He made sure he got out before that boy got out. Now, I don't know what the circumstances of that was, but he got out before this boy got out. Those are the facts. This is father failure here, man. This is father failure. Plain and simple. I wish the young man luck. Because when your old man is like that, you absolutely positively need it. I can't blame his old mama for this one. I repeat, I can't blame his old mama for this one. Unreal. right. I thought I would throw in a bonus clip for you good folk. But this one is different, right? This one here is this one is kind of funny to me because this isn't criminal court, right? This is, this is child support court. As you can see, there's an administrative law judge as opposed to a criminal court judge. And the administrative law judges, they don't wear robes. They wear suit and tie, right? And to his right, you got the county attorney as opposed to the district attorney or the solicitor general, because this is civil. It's not criminal. And below to the left, you got this old mama. And to the right, you got the brother who's being sued for child support. And you look at the brother's face, you could tell he regrets ever having anything to do with this woman at all.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. Your Honor, a Michigan affidavit of parentage was signed by the defendant on December 4th of 2019 and signed by plaintiff on January 31st of 2020, and the child was born on January 31st, 2019. Your Honor, I did hold a pre-hearing conference with both parties separately on September 21st, 2022, because there was an indication of family violence between the parties. So we did hold that pre-hearing conference separately. Your Honor, the documentation in front of you is based on the information provided by both parties at the time of the pre-hearing conferences that were held separately. And I do believe that they are appropriate. At that pre-hearing conference, defendant did inform me that he didn't recall signing the affidavit of parentage. Unfortunately, our office cannot provide him any copies of that.
Now, he says he don't remember signing anything, which means he probably did, right? Because you know whether or not you signed your damn name to a document or not, unless your ass was intoxicated or under the influence of some dope or something when you did it. You know whether or not you signed that birth certificate. You know whether or not you signed the acknowledgement that this kid was yours. You know that. There's no I don't recall when it comes to something like that. But we continue.
I did tell him he can reach out to the Michigan Vital Records for a copy, and if he needed to file a ROPA, he could. That again was September 21st, and now we're in November. So I do believe that the documentation today is appropriate and should be entered. Thank you.
So you do have an affidavit of parentage that has been signed, and sir, if you don't think you signed it, you're the one who can request it from the state, and if you still don't believe you're the father, there are actions that you can try and take, but for the purposes of today, you are the legal.
Now look at her face. You see that face she made? Look at that face. That's the old what face, right? But look at his face. He's saying to himself, God damn it, why did I screw this woman? Why did I climb on top of this woman? Why did I do it? Why did I do it? Why? But we continue.
Father with an affidavit of parentage. Ma'am, is there anything you wish to say?
Yes. Why wouldn't he be the father?
Well, ma'am, I'm
Look at the face.
I don't know. I have no idea.
If he
See,
wanted to
this is what happens. This is what happens. You climb on top of these women. You climb on top of these lunatics. All right? They're always, so sure that you're the father. They're always so sure.
Child, I don't know you at all. So, Mr.
I
Allen?
know, no. I'm just saying, like, if he want to do a paternity test, we can. I mean, it don't make me no difference because it's gonna come out 99.99. So,
Isn't that what they always say? For just a second or two, we've been zapped on to the Maury Show. Oh, I'm 100%, I'm 1,000% that he's the father. And notice, let's just digress for a second. You notice how all those women that come up there, they claim that, these dudes are the fathers of these kids. Notice they never say, I know he's the father because he's the only guy that I slept with during that time, during that month, during that year, during that whatever. That's never the reason. The reason is, oh, I just know. Oh man, I didn't even know my damn echo was on my board and my mic, y'all. My bad. But it's always, I just know. It's never, well, I know he's the father because, he's the only guy I slept with that particular month that I conceived, or that year, or he was the only one I had slept with for like a month. Or no, never that. Never that. It's like they went into a drugstore, bought a whole bunch of pregnancy tests, and just went to the bathroom and like played dice with them, right? It's like they just played dice with the pregnancy test. I'm gonna roll these dice, and if it come up a 6, it's Jimmy's. If it come up a 7, it's Bobby's. If it come up 10, it's Jamal's. Like they never say, I know he's the father because he's the only one I slept with during the month of July, or during the time my period didn't come on up. Never that. It's always, I just know. But we continue.
I don't even know why he's doing that. So.
Right. Well, he is, for the purposes of today, he is the father for the purposes of this hearing. So
he's doing it because he's realized that he's made a horrible mistake in climbing on top of this old woman here. From what I can see, she's one of these crazy bonnet wearing women. She's one of these crazy bonnet wearing women. All right. She ain't even got the wherewithal to make herself look somewhat presentable, as she does this. She got the kid with her. The kid look like their hair hasn't been combed. I mean, the brother made a crucial error, man, a critical error, man. He climbed on top of this woman here. And now he is stuck with this woman for at least the next 15 to 16 years, right? Now, the horrible thing about this is that, fine, if this is his kid, all right, he's being held financially responsible for the kid, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But see, the flip side of that is you also have to be tied to this woman here. All right. And obviously she's brought some type of action against him. I mean, maybe they threatened to take her SSI check if she didn't say anything. I don't know. But this action has been brought against him. Once again, the system is managing their lives. The brother, he is now tied to this old woman who we obviously don't want anything to do with. And who knows? I know they had mentioned earlier, I don't even know if I recorded that part, is that, there was some violence. They had got to fighting, some old nonsense like that. So the brother is caught up with this lunatic. And hopefully she don't kill the damn kid. But we continue.
Mr. Allen, is there anything you wish to say?
I'm just trying to get this over with.
Yeah, he just wants to get this over with. I mean, he done been slammed. He realizes, I done climbed on top of this old woman. I just want to get this over with, man. fine, whatever, man. I just want to get it over with. Take what y'all want to take out my check. Let's just get this over with.
As cordial as I can. Like I said, I haven't seen my daughter
In 3 years.
and due to me being incarcerated, so she's not made an attempt.
Well, the brother has got locked up, right? Obviously. So he says he hasn't seen the kid. All right. You know, the kid who he don't remember signing the birth certificate for. But the thing is this. That has nothing to do with what's going on today, brother. This hearing has nothing to do with that, brother. Has nothing to do with visitation or whether or not you've seen the kid. It has nothing to do with any of that. And that's the problem that I have when it comes to many of us when we find ourselves inside of a courtroom or a hearing room or whatever. We're always talking about things that have nothing to do with what's going on. I mean, we're always blurting out stuff that has nothing to do with the topic at hand. Nothing. That has nothing to do with anything. Nothing. He could have not said anything, and it would have been the same result. But we continue.
And try to let me see my daughter, get to know my daughter.
Well, this is not a parenting thing right now. You are the legal father according to the documentation, and you can take appropriate steps if you choose to do that for whatever you choose for parenting time or whatever.
I understand.
But not with this. So it appears that the numbers are correct and that the order should enter as provided to me. Ms. Naomi, if you will send it to me through DocuSign, I can sign it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck, everyone. Thank you. Have a good day. Stay healthy. Take care.
Thank you.
Now he's on the hook. He's on the hook for the next 15 to 16 years, and whatever back child support they may think he owe, he gonna have to pay that. And let's back up, right? Let's back up a bit, right? Let's go back. Let me see. I gotta hurry up and get out of here, man. The grandbabies is here. They're giving them hell out there. Big Bear gotta go out there and bring the peace again. But let me see. I think it was here.
Times 40 hours a week.
Okay, it was.
Father has actual income of $18 an hour times 40 hours a week.
Now, they said his income is $18 an hour times 40 hours a week, right? Let me see. 18 times 40, that's 720, right? So $720 a week. The brother makes what? About $3,000 a month. He do a little overtime. It may be $4,000 a month, somewhere in between there, maybe a little more. So he's a what? He's a 50K a year guy, right? Which many of us are, right? 50K a year. Now, in some parts of this country, if you make 50K a year, your ass broke for the most part. But in other parts of the country, you make 50K a year, you do good. Because I know in this area, I think the average salary in this area is, $28,000 or something like that, $30,000. So if you're making 50K here in this area, depending on what part of town you live in, you're doing all right. All right. You're doing all right with 50K. But, we often hear people refer to the 50K a year guy, because that's just the regular guy, right? And he's a regular guy, makes regular money, climbed on top of this woman. Now that 50K a year is going to get sliced because depending on how much they knock him for, and trust me, they just made it official that they're going to be knocking him, that may go down to 30 a year. All right. That may go down to 35 a year, depending on how much they hit them for. All right? Depending on how much they hit them for. I mean, it all depends. I know most child support is like 17.5% of whatever, whatever you make a year. So you figure 17.5% is what of 50K? I don't know. Let me see. 17.5% of 50K on a year. But you figure 20% would be 10K a year. So, a little less than 10K per year he would have to pay. A little less than 10K. So, that 50K gonna go right on down to 40, 42 or 41. But I gotta say this though, man, you make your bed, man, you gotta lay in it. Now, maybe, just maybe, this may not be his kid, because we know that's a possibility, right? It may not be his kid. He may go get a DNA test done and come to find out it won't be his kid. But because he signed that certificate and he went through this here, unraveling this crap is going to be hell. It's going to be hell. So there you have it, man. Your destiny is the sum total of the decisions that you make. And when you make a decision to climb on top of one of these damn women, all right, and climb on top of her without any protection, and she drop out a baby, hey, when she come for you for that child support, especially when it comes to something like this, now she says she's willing to take a paternity test. She seems quite confident. So the baby may be his. And from the look on his face right now, he's thinking to himself, damn, instead of climbing on top of her, I should have just had a V8. Oh, man. Good luck, my brother. Good luck. Good luck. You climbed on top of her. You bust in her. She decided to keep that baby. And with a lot of these women, man, they had those babies just so they can prove somebody climbed on top of them. And guess what? She probably got more kids. She probably got more kids that nobody's paying child support for. But that's usually how it goes, right? They always come after the brothers who actually have something to lose. The brothers that don't have nothing to lose, it don't bother them at all. But this should be a lesson to brothers. If you got something to lose, don't be so quick to find yourself around somebody that's willing to take it from you. But that's all. I appreciate y'all, man, checking this out, man, and, kind of hanging out, man. You could have been spending your hour, I think it was, doing anything, being anywhere. You decided to be here, and it is appreciated. I don't take you good folks lightly, man. I never have, and I never will. You got my word on that. So, with that, I will leave you good folk with 3 words, like I always do. Open your mind. Peace, folk. Only from T.P.O.T. Media. Open your minds.